into the thing where you go, we're recording. We're recording. Hi, Rachel and Joe. How are you guys? Good morning.
Good. How are you?
Good. MC, how are you this morning?
I'm doing great. It's Friday. I'm excited. Happy Memorial Day weekend, y'all.
I know. I have my tea this morning, not coffee, so we should call this Tea with MC, right?
I love that. Speak for yourself. Speak for yourself, Meg. Speak for yourself.
I'm so excited. This morning, we are sitting down with Joe and Rachel Shenk of Shenk Family Farm. We, as a team, Mary Cheatham King Real Estate, we've toured the farm in person. It's amazing. They're so knowledgeable. We learned so much there. And also Joe and Rachel supply a lot of our protein. So we're so excited to have them this morning. How are you guys? Good.
Good. We're doing great.
Awesome.
Yep.
Well, thank you guys so much for being here. So, for those of you who don't know about Shenk Family Farms, I, for one, am thrilled to know about it. It was I was just out to lunch, I guess, because I really didn't know about Joe and Rachel and this operation that they're running until about a year ago, I guess, when we actually went out there and visited. And so what they're doing is they are offering chickens and eggs, and now they've just added pork, which the Kings are pretty fired up about, to their product list. Yep, as well as turkeys at Thanksgiving, which is so fun. But, it's local farming. And so they are actually raising these chickens. And when we were in there at their farm, I guess we were really out there at their farm, we were able to kind of see how they collect the eggs and the way they go about it. And I learned actually so much about, some of my favorite foods. I mean, golly, we basically live on chicken and eggs over here. And now we basically live on Shenk Family Farms chicken and eggs over here. But it just is such a cool story. So I think where I'd like to start is really by asking you guys, Joe and Rachel, kind of how did this come about?
Yeah, so as I was transitioning out of the Marine Corps and we were fairly newly married and trying to decide how we wanted to raise our family and go forward with our lives, we just kind of really decided that as we were growing together and as we would raise our children together, we wanted to do that in a way that we could spend a large portion of our time doing that. And not just for me personally on the fringes of my day after work and the weekends. So we felt really strongly that I wanted to be able to do something where I worked from home, that we could work together, that our kids could be involved with it. And we don't say that saying that it's like the best thing to do. It's not right for everybody. It doesn't work for everybody, but we felt really strongly for our family. That was the way we really wanted to shape our lives. And so with a little bit of farming in our backgrounds and our families, we really loved the culture and the value system in it. And it seemed like a really good fit for those things for us. So really nothing to do with necessarily raising food at the beginning. It was about our family.
But I love that. I love that. And so as I understand it, from spending time with you guys, at the farm, you kind of jumped in and started doing it, and then it really just took off, right? Then you realized that people really were interested in having these, we all kind of wonder where our food comes from. I always wonder, especially where my chicken comes from, honestly. That's a big one for me. So I think that it really does, fill a hole for so many people. And I guess as I understand it, I know that right now you guys are selling out of your products and that you are ramping up your production, ramping up the animals that you have, because there are folks who are dying for them, right? There are folks who really want to be in that relationship with you guys where y'all are the folks that they go to get these healthy foods for their family.
Yeah, we didn't realize in the beginning, the taste difference. We didn't realize the health difference and the texture difference. Like, we had no idea. We just knew we wanted to farm. And then once we actually got to taste the products, we were like, wow, this is delicious.
It's so true. It's so true. That's exactly right. Yeah, I love that. And what I love, for us is that, we can get a whole chicken, or we can get just the chicken breast. You can get the parts that you want, and the eggs. I have 2 Shenk Family Farms eggs every morning right now. I'm going through this phase where I make a sweet potato toast, in the toaster oven. Like, I cut slices of it, and then I put avocado on it, and then an egg on top of each of mine.
Oh my goodness.
Sounds delicious.
It is so good. And it's definitely, you're right, the flavor, the color of the yolk.
Mm-hmm.
It's totally different. Yeah. Absolutely. I love that. Well, I think that's so cool. So tell me about, I love y'all's value statement. It makes me really happy. Can you tell us what your value statement is?
Do you want to do it?
Yeah, so we've kind of just kind of broken it down to super simple that we strive for happy and healthy animals, happy and healthy community, and then happy and healthy farmers. Those are the three big things that we want to balance and try and do as well as we can. And we really think that they feed off of each other if we do it well.
Yeah. I mean, one leads to the other, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I love that. I think that's so cool. So as far as the way that the methods that you guys use to farm, what can you tell us a little bit about that and kind of what makes that different than, if obviously there's for one, you guys are local, y'all are right here in Newport, right? So beyond that, what makes what you do different?
Yeah. And we really like the word different because we try and make a caveat when we talk about these things that there are different types of agriculture, different types of ways to raise animals, and neither one should necessarily be considered better or worse, or we shouldn't judge somebody for one and praise somebody for the other. They're different.
Sure.
And it's up to the consumer to determine what they value and what they want out of their food. So the ways that we really feel we're different is we consider ourselves a pasture-based farm, and we raise pasture-raised products. So in a nutshell, that means that all of our livestock are raised outside on the pasture with appropriate shelter, and they are moved with some sort of frequency relative to their needs, the requirements and health of the soil, so on and so forth. So yeah, that's really what sets us apart, is raising them outside on pasture, moving them. It really improves the animals' welfare because we're moving them off of their manure and their droppings. They're getting to act out their animal instincts. So watching chickens run around and catch bugs and pick through the grass, and seeing the pigs get to dig through for the roots they want to eat and things like that. They can move around because if we look at animals in nature, they move around.
Right.
But these are domestic animals, so we're not just going to let them loose. We have a role to play in it, but we mimic that movement. It keeps the soil healthy by providing both nutrients to it and then preventing an overabundance of nutrients on the soil. So we're balancing both of those. So yeah, that's the biggest thing. We think it's one of the healthier options for the animals and the soil, which then will translate into the food that the customer's getting.
That's really neat. So you're actually creating healthy land too. So you can add that to that mission statement.
Yeah. We are
really cool.
We are as much soil and forage or grass farmers as we are livestock farmers, because that is part of the diet of our animals. And as we would add cows in the future, that will be all of their diet. So we're managing that as well and trying to steward it well.
So is that your next step? Your next step is that you're planning to add cows to the...
Yes.
That is the plan.
So, that's exciting. Do you guys have enough room in your current space to be able to do that, or will you need to expand?
Oh yeah, we have enough room.
Yeah, we have enough room for a small scale. We've got to develop the soil a little bit, build it back up, and we're going to work with actually some methods to run some cows through the woods and a combination pasture wood setup. There's a lot of creative things we can do with multi-species grazing to maximize the space that we have. So within reason.
I think I was struck by this, when we were on your farm, and I'm struck by this again, just that it's really interesting to stop and understand what all goes in to do this and do it the right way. It's not, you don't just throw some chickens out in your backyard.
Which is how we started.
Yeah.
To do it and do it well and do it to be able to meet the growing demands of your customers and to be able to take good care of the place that, the place where you're running your business as well as these animals. It takes a lot of planning and thought and a lot of, it sounds to me, one of my takeaways is it takes a lot of really focusing on the big picture, right? And understanding the cycle of it all, that I just find so interesting and really impressive. So I think what you guys are doing is amazing. So cool. We're so lucky to have you guys right here.
I know.
So Rachel, walk me through something. Eggs. Let's talk about eggs for just a minute. My favorite thing that I learned from you guys when I was there is about the bloom that's on the egg. Do you remember that when y'all came to our office and we had trivia and I knew the answer? We were all like, "How did you know that?" Because I was listening, because I love eggs. But would you tell everybody, first of all, about the bloom that's on the eggs and the impact that has on how the shelf life of an egg?
Yeah. So when a hen lays an egg, it has a natural protective layer called the bloom. And as long as the egg is free of debris, you can leave it unwashed, and it can last on the counter like 3 to 4 weeks. So we do sell most of our eggs unwashed, unrefrigerated, because we have roll-away nesting boxes, so the eggs stay super clean. We might wash like 5 to 10%, but and then in the refrigerator, a fresh egg can last like 3 months, 2 to 3 months. So that bloom keeps it super fresh.
I think that is the coolest thing.
I
love
had no
knowing
idea.
that. Not that an egg would ever last, several weeks, much less several months around me, but it's good to know. Okay. So then tell me also, for those of us who are, sometimes I do have to supplement the eggs that I get from you guys and buy some eggs from the grocery store.
Yep.
And I try to make sure that I'm using those. If I can't get enough from y'all, make sure I'm using those for making brownies or things like that, and really I try to cook y'all's eggs for my breakfast. But if I'm going into the grocery store and I'm overwhelmed by the egg options that are there, what does it all mean? What is the difference between the eggs that you offer and that terminology? Because it confuses me.
Yes, there are lots of different labels. Basically, like your regular conventional eggs, if there's no labels, they're raised inside, most often like in cages. So cage-free just means that they're still raised inside, no cages, but it has no, it speaks nothing to like their diet. And then there's like vegetarian fed, which just means that the feed doesn't have animal byproducts. And then there's organic, which just means that their feed was grown organically, but they could still be raised inside, which it just depends what the consumer wants.
Sure.
And then you have pasture raised, which really, like Joseph was saying, it just means they're raised 100% outside, but it's not really a regulated term yet, right? It's not like a specific label.
Okay.
But most farmers would say, they're raised 100% outside, moved daily or weekly to fresh grass. So those are kind of like the major labels. So in the grocery store, just looking for pasture raised is like the best thing, because at least for us, what's important to us is the lifestyle of the chicken. And we do, care about what they eat as well, but we just, love chickens that are raised outside. I think it affects flavor and the welfare of the animal, in our opinion.
Yeah. And go ahead, Joe.
Oh, okay. And just the best thing to do, as confusing as it can be, is the label is only as good as its definition. And the definition may not necessarily be what the first thing that pops to your mind of what that word means.
Like, right.
Like free range, for example. And again, this is a label with a standard, so that's what it's being raised to. And so a big difference between that and pasture raised is free range is raised in a house with an unspecified access to the outdoors, whereas pasture raised is raised on the pasture. And it is important as well to just be in the grocery store with pasture raised being an unregulated term. And we actually like it not being regulated, because it allows farmers the freedom at a small scale to operate in the way that makes sense for their operation, as long as they meet that basic standard. But even in the store, you need to just do a little research if it does say pasture raised, to ensure that's what it is. As this is getting a little more specific, as USDA guidelines are looking at combining the free range pasture raised terms. So
that's interesting.
It's going to get even more confusing.
Right.
The thing is, if you can find a farmer that's local, go to them, or if you can call that farm, email them. If you can find pictures on their Facebook that have a variety of grasses, not just one pasture that looks really nice with 10 chickens on it, those types of things.
Right. Right,
more-
not any photoshopped grass.
yeah. So the best thing is know your farmer.
Yes.
Well, that's the thing, and I know I know that you have said that that trusting your farmer goes further than any label.
Yep.
So just
Yeah.
and I think that really is. It's also interesting to me though, because to me it speaks to the labels not just on eggs, but on so many of the foods that we buy, and it really makes me curious, and it makes me want to learn more about all of it.
Yeah.
And so I think that as far as folks like us who really enjoy the fact that we know you guys and know the way that you are raising your animals, and I love knowing where our food's coming from. I love knowing where the food I'm giving my children in particular is coming from. So what is the best way for folks to get their hands on your products?
Yeah, so we attend 2 farmers markets right now, the Old Beaufort Farmers Market and the one at the market at Cedar Point. And we also have an online store, and you can order there and choose your pickup location that works best for you. But the best way would be to join our email list. You'll get a free bone broth guide just for joining, and then we'll keep you updated with when different things will be back in stock, and when we'll be having pickup locations, when we'll be at the market, that kind of thing.
Great.
Okay,
And
I love that.
We'll drop your website in the comments so folks can go ahead and sign up for your email list. It's right on the front of your website, so it'll be easy.
And it's great. Y'all do the cutest things. I love it. And y'all, I have to tell you that Joe and Rachel have the cutest little boy, Mason, who's 2.5. I mean, he is so cute. How often is he with you at the farmer's market?
He actually does not attend the farmer's market. My mom usually brings him because he's crazy.
He makes a guest appearance.
I wouldn't be able to keep up with him.
Yeah. That's very smart. That's well. If you're lucky enough to get to meet Mason, you sure will be excited that you were there at the right time. I'll tell you that. I'll tell you right that. So, Meg, I know that we've got some good rapid fire questions for Joe and Rachel.
Yes, before we sign off, we just had a couple smaller questions for Joe and Rachel to answer on the fly. So number one, we were just talking about your social media and how great you guys are on it. If anyone is not following Shenk Family Farm on Instagram or Facebook, y'all have to. They post the best stuff. And you also just mentioned bone broth. So I am curious, what is your favorite way to enjoy the bone broth that you make?
That is really tough. So I'm going to give you 2. I love to just drink it like coffee. So I'll just heat it up in the microwave, add a little bit of salt, and just sip on it like coffee. But I also really love making rice with it. It makes the rice taste really good and rich. And it also, because there's a little bit of fat in the broth, it keeps the rice from getting super sticky. So it's more like fluffy, and it's delicious.
Sure. And what are the benefits of bone broth exactly?
Yeah, there's a lot of different benefits. One of the big ones is that the nutrients in it, so when you make bone broth, you're using apple cider vinegar, which helps to draw the nutrients out of the bones and the scraps that you're using. So the nutrients are bioavailable, which just means your body's more able to absorb them and use them. So yeah, and it's really good. It reduces inflammation. It can be really healing for your gut. There's tons of benefits.
That's awesome. And when folks sign up for your email list, they'll get a guide on it, right? So they'll get all the lowdown.
So cool. I've been curious about that. I mean, bone broth. I feel like I'm not cool enough to drink bone broth. I don't think. I mean, I might be able to get there, but seriously, I hear about it all the time. And I'm like, I'm not so sure. So I'm excited about this. I know, that's awesome. Okay, good.
Third question. What is your favorite way? I want to ask Rachel and Joe, your favorite way to enjoy your Shenk Family Farm eggs?
I hate wasting food. So at the end of a week, whatever vegetables I have left, I usually saute those up with bacon or sausage, or even just bacon fat or olive oil. Mm-hmm. I'll throw that in the pan, scramble some eggs with maybe a little bit of milk, salt and pepper, and put that in, and maybe a little bit of cheese, and just salt and pepper, and bake it in the oven. So then you got breakfast all week, and you didn't waste your vegetables that you were going to throw away.
That sounds so good. I wish I had that right now.
Me too. And Joe, what about you? What's your favorite way?
I think probably just a plain old sunny side up or over easy with a piece of toast.
Oh yeah, that sounds so good. Oh man,
I love that.
A second breakfast.
I love the male female difference there. That was good.
Yeah.
That was really
complex, simple.
I know. That's exactly right. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. It makes me feel at home, y'all. It makes me feel at home.
2 more questions. So both of you answer if possible. Would you prefer a savory Thanksgiving turkey or a night on the back porch grilling chicken?
Probably a savory Thanksgiving turkey for me.
Okay. What about you, Joe?
Yeah, probably a turkey, just because I really like Thanksgiving as a whole.
And
So.
this is terrible, but neither of us are really good at grilling. We actually don't have a grill right now.
I love
that answers that. I love a good turkey. Yum.
that. Yeah.
Awesome. And then
Yeah.
our final question, this one might be a little bit longer to explain, but I know you two obviously are married, and I know both of you work a little bit separately to run Shenk Family Farm as a whole. So can you guys kind of give a brief rundown of what each of you do, maybe in a typical day?
Yeah. You want to go first?
Sure. So for me, I handle most of the farm daily operations. So mornings start out, 2 hours, head over to the farm and do feed and water, do daily moves for the meat chickens because they get moved every day. And then the middle of the day, that's the time that I'll either go work off the farm on construction jobs, or we'll be able to do big moves like weekly moves for the laying hens or the pigs. If we have any special projects or repairs. So that all kind of happens in the middle of the day, depending what needs to be done. And then back again in the evening for about an hour. It's a lot quicker in the evening because we do twice a day feedings for some animals. We top off water, collect eggs. And then it's back to the house after that.
Yeah, for me, my day-to-day is kind of all over the place. I usually have Mason at home with me, and I'm answering emails, phone calls, taking orders, packaging, organizing the freezers, doing farmers markets on the weekends, that kind of thing. So I'm more like marketing, sales, customer relations, obviously social media. I'm always taking videos.
It's so good. I'll
so
prop
good.
it up on my table or while I'm eating or something like that and watch them all. I love it. It's so fun. Awesome, y'all. Well, we have our final question. MC, are you ready to go into the final question?
Ooh, I think I'm ready. Yeah. I think I'm ready.
So Rachel and Joe, we want to ask you this separately if that's okay. So you guys can answer on your own accord, but we ask this to all of our guests here on Coffee with MC, and it comes from a podcast both Mary Cheatham and I listen to called For the Love with Jen Hatmaker. And she asked all of her guests this question, and it's, what is saving your life right now?
Mm-hmm. I'll go first. This was a tough question. So yeah, I think just relationships with people. So like personally and other farmers, some of which we've never even met in person. Mm-hmm. But just like to be able to, like when you're having a hard day, like farming is hard, and recently it's been really hard, and just to be able to call someone that you know and trust and just be able to tell them how you're doing, and they can just be a listening ear. And then recently we've just gotten a lot closer with other farms. Like in the beginning, we didn't know any other farmers. Sure. So now to be able to like talk with other farmers and know that they have similar struggles, they understand what we're going through. They're telling us everything you're going through is normal and okay. Like that.
It feels so good to hear that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. What about you, Joe?
How about you, Joe?
Yeah, so I guess the more serious answer, probably for both of us, would be in a season of life where we're growing a small business and having another business and expanding the farm and doing that as spouses, and then just dealing with the inevitable of nature being a pain in the butt and throwing you curveballs. Like, it can be difficult. But I think just our faith in Jesus is the biggest thing that shows us, regardless of how hard we work or how much we screw up, none of our worth is in that.
Sure.
But we farm the way we do in a way that we want to honor Jesus, not earn his praise. So I think that's the biggest serious answer.
Yeah.
But man, on a day-to-day basis, for me, the reminders of that is, seeing stuff like seeing our land that a year ago was like wild onions and weeds. And now when I'm mowing it, I'm seeing bugs and birds and field mice.
And new grasses coming up.
New grasses like coming up everywhere, clover. Seeing, a pig chomping down on grass and then taking a nap and snoring. Like those little things. And then having Mason, Mason comes out and just wants to run around and hammer things with the mini sledgehammer, and he's 2 years old. So it's just those little things that we get to enjoy together and see.
That's
I think
awesome.
are good reminders every day.
That's awesome. That's so encouraging. Cool.
I love that. I think that's awesome. And I love, I think what you're describing are signs of accomplishment and signs of progress. And I love that those are that in your role, that those are your signs of accomplishment and your signs of progress. That's it's just refreshing, and it's great to hear. So thank you guys so much for what you are doing for our community. We love having you here, and I sure do. I'm super pumped about my bacon and my sausage that are going to be coming soon. And in the meantime, I'm certainly continuing to love my eggs and my chicken. So guys, we'll make sure that we post through for everybody so that you too can learn how you can connect with Shenk Family Farms, get on their email list, and you can have access to their products as well. If you are from out of state, or if you're not going to be in this area, they also have given us a website and actually have offered to help as well, link folks up with local farmers in their area. So we'll make sure that we provide those resources to y'all so that you can connect to your own little Shenk Family Farms, although I'm sure it's not going to be as dreamy as ours. So
yeah, ours is
thanks
great.
so much. Thank you, Rachel and Joe. We've loved having y'all.
Cool. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thank
y'all.
you. We'll see y'all soon.
Have a good morning.
Thank you. You too. Happy weekend.
Thank you.
Well, Meg,
I
that was
love
good.
them. They
I
just
know,
make
it's
me
just so
happy.
interesting. I mean, really, it's so different. The day-to-day is so different from what our day-to-day is, I mean, and the way you measure success and the way you measure progress. And I don't know, it's just so interesting. I'm so struck by them creating almost like a mission statement for their family, or understanding and at the outset what was going to be important to them, and that was spending time together as a family. I just think it's so, especially right now, it's such a refreshing thing to hear.
I think so too. And I think a lot of folks can take lessons away from what they said, even if it doesn't pertain to farming whatsoever. I mean, the family mission statement, like you were saying, and enjoying the little things, especially now. So I think anyone can get anything out of the conversation that we just had with Rachel and Joe. So I love that. That was great. Good way to start.
I totally agree. And I know it makes me wonder too. It makes me want to think about where all the food I eat comes from, not just that, and really think about labels and think about, I don't know. I so appreciate how careful they are to not say that something is better than something else, which I find that so fascinating. This just being really respectful of not only the people that provide all different types of food, but also the people who have access to it, right? Because not everybody has access to every different option. So I don't know. I thought the whole thing was very thought-provoking and interesting. I really, really think a whole lot of them and feel so lucky that we have them in our community.
Absolutely. We're certainly lucky. Well, MC, before we hop off, do you have what's saving your life this morning or today?
I think what's saving my life, honestly, is I've gone back to what I always go back to, which is taking a little bit of quiet time for myself in the mornings. I try to meditate. I'm scared to even say the word because, you always, you try and then you think, I'm not great at this. But if I can close my eyes and sit down on my floor and cross my legs and just take a little bit of time to center myself, it makes a difference for the whole day. So I think kind of circling back to that and making sure that that's something I'm incorporating is really saving my life.
That's great.
How about you?
Well, yesterday I had a birthday, and I mean, just all of the love and comments from family, friends, and from my team, it just fills my heart, and that was saving my life. I feel like birthdays come around a time when you just need a little extra loving. So I feel like this was perfect timing for me. It really was a pick-me-up, and I'm just so thankful for everyone who
I love that. I love that. Well, you are mighty loved every day of the year. So thank you for being here with me. I've enjoyed it. And have a wonderful Memorial Day weekend.
You too.
Keep right on celebrating, sister.
Woohoo! I know. Have a good one, MC.
You too. Bye.